Good. Taoiseach, I want to bring to your attention the potential government cover-up regarding the upcoming referendums. On Monday, the 12th of February, the former Attorney General and Justice Minister, Senator Michael McDowell, accused Minister Roderick O'Gorman of hiding vital information regarding the upcoming referendums in March. Senator McDowell's allegation suggests a significant cover-up by the government, and it is a matter that must be urgently addressed. I am today calling for the government to come clean and tell the truth, which is the difficulty of this government. Why would the Minister refuse to share the detailed notes from the crucial meetings from the interdepartmental group which considered the two referendums? These were no ordinary meetings, Taoiseach. They were discussions that have grave impacts on our citizens and our constitution. These notes could shed light on how the changes to our laws might impact on taxation and our taxes, social welfare and indeed pensions, immigration and indeed even family reunification for asylum seekers, landowners, farmers, everything else. But by withholding this information, the government is essentially keeping us all in the dark, which is not only unfair but downright disrespectful to the public. It's just not a few meetings, ordinary meetings, they're keeping secret. It's notes from a staggering 16 meetings, and they're also withholding correspondence with the NGO Trower. The excuse you claim and your government claim is too early to sharing this. It might sway the vote. But let us call it what it is. The government are deliberately delaying the truth until after we've cast our votes. The manipulation and misinformation goes against the very principles of democracy. Even the Electoral Commission can't provide us with a clear picture of the consequences of these referendums. They're essentially telling us we'll figure it all out later. We have, as I said, there's downright a cover-up designed to keep us in the dark and prevent us from making informed decisions. We have every right to demand transparency and access to the relevant information before we vote. We must stand up against this injustice and demand an immediate publication of these crucial minutes. And the government, given the government's lack of transparency and accountability, it is clear that voting no is the only sensible choice. We cannot allow ourselves to be manipulated by those in power who prioritise their own priorities before they do for our people, and we've seen that so many times. So will you, Tánaiste, commit to immediately publishing the detailed notes from these meetings of the interdepartmental group which considered the two referendums to ensure that the public will be fully aware of the consequences and ensure full transparency ahead of the referendum on March 8th. It is crucial that we have full information, not, as I said, ordinary meetings, 16 very important interdepartmental meetings over a long time, and indeed correspondence from NGOs also to that. So the people need to know the full truth. Thank you.
Tánaiste?
Yeah, there's no cover-up, Deputy, and there's been a series of Cabinet subcommittee meetings, and of course Cabinet subcommittee meetings are meetings where things are teased out and discussed, various options looked at, various options considered, if that's what you're referring to. But the amendment is very basic, and one of the key ones is that the definition around family should reflect current realities. That's all we're saying to people. And I'm sure you're a man that believes in cherishing all the children of the nation equally. 42% of all children born in 2022 were born to an unmarried couple. Are we saying the Constitution shouldn't reflect that? Are we saying they should be excluded from the articles of the Constitution? And we're simply saying in that amendment that we want to cherish all of the children, all the various family units, including couples with or without children, single parents and their children, and then you have grandparents who are raising children as well. And we're simply saying all of those should be covered by the new article. Nothing more, nothing less. People are endeavouring to sort of complicate it. People are raising all sorts of red herrings, which I don't believe have real substance. And this has been the motivation of the Oireachtas All-Party Committee as well. And that in terms of replacing the amendment in terms of replacing the women's, the duties of women in the home, the idea was to replace that with a provision that recognises care in the home without discriminating on gender. In other words, care provided in the home by any member of the family in the home, and that the state should strive to support that. And that is in essence what's before the people. It's modest, but it's important. Changes to our constitution, which I think are good ones, and I think have been welcomed by many, many people who have felt excluded for far, far too long in our society. And there's been much deliberation on these issues, Deputy, for I'd say nearly 3 decades now. It's been the subject of various Oireachtas committees. Now, maybe the present Oireachtas committee that dealt with this, I think Deputy Batchik was the chair of that, may have wished us to go further in terms of the care dimension to it. But again, in terms of separation of powers, it's important that the Oireachtas of the day and of the future and the government of the future retains the parliamentary discretion to prioritise allocation of resources at budget time. And that has been the essential nature of how we order things in a country, that you have a constitution which provides for fundamental rights and is essentially a liberal rules of law based document which gives a lot of rights to the citizen, but also then creates the executive, which is the government of the day, and the parliament, to then work through the allocations of resources to the various areas of society, education, health and so forth.
Well, to answer my question, Taoiseach, do you know what? If they're trying to rename Park Queeve, they should call it Park Micheál Martin, because you're so good to kick the ball around the pitch and off the pitch, but you won't play the ball on the pitch, and you won't deal with the questions you're asked. Minister Catherine Martin made an assessment that the Irish Constitution says that a woman's place is in the home. The Supreme Court Judge Marie Baker, chair of the Electoral Commission, has clarified that the Constitution makes no such statement whatsoever. It is flabbergasting that the government would on the one hand appoint a Supreme Court judge to regulate misinformation during a referendum, and then that judge would say that the government minister's interpretation of the Constitution in the context of the referendum was simply wrong. When questioned on this matter, Minister Martin contradicted the judge and insists her interpretation is quite clear. So can you, Taoiseach, clarify if it's your government's minister's interpretation that is correct, or is that of the chair of the Electoral Commission's position that is correct? And can you clarify that the government's position, we cannot have an electoral commission saying that a government minister's interpretation is incorrect and still have confidence in both the minister and the Supreme Court judge and chair of the commission?
Thank you, Deputy.
We cannot set up an electoral commission to regulate misinformation in relation to a referendum and then turn a blind eye to the disinformation by your government. And what action will be taken against the minister or any other government ministers who's peddling this misinformation? And I want a direct answer to the question I'm raising, not a trip around the park.
Deputy.
Well, could I say to the Deputy that I appreciate his plaudits in terms of my capacity to kick the ball around the pitch, but I have to just enlighten the Deputy that the position that the selectors decided for me as a young person was cornerback in an era when neither pace or skill was a premium, and people would understand what I mean by that. Could I say to the Deputy that in terms of the commission that's been established, the role of the commission is to objectively assess the proposed changes and explain to the public in an objective way what the impact of the amendment will be. Political participants in the campaign, those who are for and those against, will argue in favour of it. I don't accept the charge that you've labelled. I've seen some of the stuff online about disinformation in terms of the difference between duties and place. And I think that's over the top completely, and it's a complete, I think, misrepresentation of the Minister's presentation. The existing articles are clear. I think I've asked you, and I think I would have appreciated a response. Do you favour a more inclusive encapsulation of the concept of family as reflected in modern day reality? Do you accept that in the modern era that there's 42% of children that are currently excluded? Do you think we should bring them in and include them in the Constitution?
Now we go to the